she's so kind and so thoughtful. And you have to remember that this is a woman who trained her entire life to be a killer.
We have launched the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards, which are currently underway. And you are a part of the Female Wrestler of the Year category. You are one of the nominations. And already, so how the awards are is that we have half of the votes come from an expert group of panelists and the other half is decided by fans. So our panelists include people like Bill Apter and Al Snow, who have already picked you over so many other choices as the Wrestler of the Year. And
thanks, guys.
The second part is
over. I've known Bill Apter for so long too, like since like Ring of Honor days, like crazy. Maybe even before that, from Pottstown, Pennsylvania, when Steve Corino was running there. Sorry, that was ages ago.
Amazing. And Al Snow said that someone from OVW has to win this. So,
I got you, Al. I got you. No, that's thank you so much. I'm honored to be nominated. There's like a lot of who else is nominated. I'm assume. Let me just I'm gonna go ahead and assume, and you tell me if I'm wrong. I would say probably Becky Lynch.
Yes.
Is nominated. I would say Charlotte is nominated.
Did not make it this year, but yeah.
Queen. Britt Baker.
Yes, she is there.
Britt Baker is nominated, as she should be. Who else? How many people? 5, you said?
5. Yeah, that is why Charlotte was
Sasha.
Yes.
So I got one more.
Yeah. WWE again.
Oh, it is from WWE.
Yeah.
Dana Brooke.
Not Dana Brooke, unfortunately. Bianca Belair. I mean, she had
Bianca.
She had a great year.
She's so good. She's so good. She's so good.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was just wondering if you'd
want tough competition though, Doc.
Absolutely. Which is why, do you want to tell your fans to vote?
Well, I want them to vote wherever their heart leads them. Of course, I would love if they would vote for me, but there's so many talented women now. And, you know, of course, I'd love an award and to hang on my wall. But at the same time, I think that's the beautiful thing about wrestling right now in 2022 is that the talent pool of real, genuine, badass women. Can I say ass? Can I say bad? Badass women out there right now in every promotion are killing the game. They are absolutely killing it, and I love to see it. And so whoever you vote for, vote where your heart leads you. Just make it me. I know it's me. I'm just kidding. I know, but seriously, like it's really cool. Thank you for the nomination. I appreciate it. It's very nice. It's very nice.
So also, so what do you think of Ronda Rousey? I mean, you have spent your life in the business. Ronda Rousey is pretty new in comparison. Do you think she's picked up the business as a natural?
I think she's picked up the business very quickly, considering the background she comes from. You know, and I say that, yes, I've dedicated I have a lot of love and respect for Ronda. So maybe if you're coming to me and going like, oh, she doesn't deserve it because she was the UFC girl and of course she's going to get the push, you're barking up the wrong tree. Because I will say that obviously being in the position when I was there and the one taking most of the ass whippings from her so that way she could get better, so I could help her, you know, we could help each other, like I could just help her get better because she's that sucked because she's an MMA girl and she, you know, a lot of it hurt. However, she's so kind and so thoughtful. And you have to remember that this is a woman who trained her entire life to be a killer, to be the baddest bitch on the planet. And, you know, the mentality that goes into that alone, like I always say, I really don't know. I've been in fights in my life. I don't know that I could be a fighter because you have to have this legit killer instinct to really want to hurt your opponent, to want to hurt people. And I just, you know, it takes a lot for me to pull that out of me. But she's very driven and very smart, and she was very passionate about with Kurt, like she'd ask Kurt Angle. Kurt was helping her a lot backstage on learning and trying that transition, because you think about it, he was one of the first people to really transition. Greatest of all time. Kurt Angle is one of the greatest of all time, period. To transition from a sport of such a high level to then go on and be a credible and become one of the greatest of all times, from his promos to his match style to all the things where he could implement his Olympic style into entertainment wrestling, sports wrestling. So I feel like considering that she's only been doing it, and obviously she just took all that time off and came back after having a baby 4 months ago. I personally, on a real note, as a woman-to-woman note, will say that 4 months after my pregnancy, I would not have felt comfortable showing up at the Royal Rumble. I can guarantee you that, because I felt like it took me a whole pregnancy to even get to feel like confident in myself to be on television in that kind of capacity. And so that, number one thing, is a feat all its own. But, you know, I feel like she got a hell of a pop, a hell of a reaction. It was still somewhat of a surprise, I think, for the most part, for the fans. And it's cool to see. And she's a star. She's a star. And obviously, WrestleMania is a massive show, and you need to headline, and that's a main event match, because people want to see Ronda Rousey. Period. They want to see her, you know, in a WWE ring. They want to see her in the UFC ring, and I think this is a way for her to get in front of her audience and be, you know, still be a mom and do all the things. And I think the one thing that wrestling has provided Ronda that she perhaps never really had before was a family atmosphere in the locker room, because you know, when she must have been training for all those fights and stuff, it's a very single sport. You don't have friends, you know, because they're all your competition, whereas in wrestling we are a family. And you know, I personally remember, like, when she had her own locker room space or whatever, but she specifically wanted to come in the locker room and change with the girls and be a part of the locker room, because she never really had that her whole career. It's always been her own space because she couldn't have friends because they were all her competition. So, you know, I love Ronda. I really do. I don't know how, I'll kick her ass.
Right.
Ronda. No, but seriously, like, it's been cool. And I think that she's picked it up pretty quickly, and she's believable out there because she is a legit badass. And she's unpredictable because she's a legit fighter, you know, so she can literally catch you with anything. And I think it's going to be an exciting match for the fans to see. And I think her versus Charlotte, it's at the match going to WrestleMania, is her versus Charlotte.
Yeah.
Have they announced that? I felt like they announced that the other day.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, that's going to be a great match, because I said the other day that Charlotte, I watched the Rumble back a couple days, like 2 days after it happened. And I watch people's nuances and their like little things. And within that match, I go, you really can take a look back and see how great Charlotte really is, because she takes her time and she does all the little stuff. I'm an in-between person, you know, it's like, it's not about the moves. It's all the little things in between, and she does it all right. And I think that story of those two, it's two complete polar opposites clashing together. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I don't expect anything less from either of them, because I know what they demand of themselves, you know?
Absolutely. And so before we talk about Impact Wrestling, you were the on-screen best friend of Alexa Bliss at one point of time. What does it feel like to be replaced by a doll?
Oh, it's fine. It's fine to be replaced by a doll. I don't feel like she replaced me. She doesn't kick nearly the amount of ass I kicked. Not
Right.
even close. No. It's cool. It's marketable. It's different, you know, especially for females, because I feel like most times, with the exception of like, I guess back to Scary Sherry, or when there's been other female characters, but most of the women are based off of their, you know, they are gorgeous women, and their looks are a big deal. So then Alexa is a beautiful woman. So to then downplay her looks and kind of do more of this darker kind of character is really, really different, you know, for someone like her. And I think she's an incredible actress. She's done a wonderful job with it. You know, I think the doll is a nice touch, and it's a great marketing thing, because now she can sell all these dolls. So good for you, babe. Like, I get it. Like, that's awesome. But I don't feel like she replaced me. Let's get that straight.
All right. Our editor just sent in a question. As the son of two wrestlers, is Donovan going to be a future wrestler as well? Would you like that?
I mean, whatever his heart desires, he can be. He has just, like, for the longest time, like when he was super young, because he came to all the shows with me, he would come to all the shows, and he was mostly backstage. So he's grown up in wrestling. I don't think, it doesn't register to him how unique our situation is, right? Like, because to him, it is his normal. It's his normal, like, to see all these guys and girls walk around in their wrestling gear to go out there and wrestle fight. He can go play in the ring before the show starts. But he doesn't really watch it on TV. He kind of watches it, and he's super into putting things together, from Legos to trains to Lego trains, those kind of things, cars and stuff like that. He's super into a lot of that stuff. So he doesn't watch it's only here and there, but then he has actually asked to watch here and there. Like, can I see one of your matches? He's only in the last year expressed any desire to wrestle. But it's always when he's a grown up. Like, when I'm a grown up, I'll wrestle. I'm going to wrestle. But I think that I don't know. Obviously, if he wants to wrestle, yes. And I would make sure that he goes to the best school possible. I mean, obviously we could teach him the fundamentals, but I think that he would have to go to, I went and did a bunch of different camps, and I went to a proper school, but a school that he could really hone and you know, learn all the little things, right, from the right people. But yeah, I mean, obviously I would never tell him no, he can't do it. But I also think that his brain operates so differently than mine. And he's just so, like, imaginative, and like, really, he wants to be, he wants to be an engineer right now, is what he wants to be, a trained engineer. Okay. But but he's also 7, so that could change 10,000 times.
Good. So I know you have a match with Chelsea Green coming up this week, and you have in the on the horizon. So could you preview these matches for our audience?
Yeah, well, I do. I have a match at No Surrender coming up in New Orleans for the Impact Knockouts World Championship against Tasha Steelz, who was the first ever winner of the Women's Ultimate X match. So she's got a beautiful red X she's carrying around to brag about, which is awesome. That match, if you haven't seen that match, go back and watch that match. The girls killed it. Like, I think that match was pretty historic. It was the first ever to open up Hard to Kill with, and then Deanna and I were the main event, and it was the first time the Knockouts Championship had ever been the main event in a pay-per-view. So if you haven't gone to see that pay-per-view, you should go back and watch it, because it was an incredible match. Every match on the card killed it. But the women made history on both ends of the show that night. And Tasha was your first ever winner, and that solidified her a shot at the Knockouts Championship in the future. And so she's cashing that in New Orleans, No Surrender. But obviously Chelsea is one of those people I've watched Chelsea and she got released the same day I did from WWE, and to watch her journey of everything that she's been doing since then, from winning the first ever NWA Women's Invitational Cup, to the stuff at GCW, to the stuff at NWA, to now everything she's doing at Impact. And I just have a kindred spirit in her because she's such a fighter, and she really is a hustler, and I respect that and I appreciate that. And a lot of people, you know, many people know that there was like some idea of us to do something together at WWE. So to now be able to be at Impact together and to possibly work together, I know this week we have a match coming up for the first time ever, she and I. So I'm excited about that. It's going to be great. But also it's just nice to have like a little sisterhood in the locker room with Chow Chow, as I like to call her, Chow Chow. In a sense, just because we have been on this like little roller coaster together, but two separate like things. And she's been, you know, succeeding all the way across, and I commend her on that. So, yeah.
Amazing. I don't think it would be too far-fetched to say that you have two Hall of Fame inductions in your future, one in WWE and one in Impact Wrestling. So who? Yeah, I mean, who would you want as your inductor in both companies?
Wow. That's hard. That's a real hard question. Because I would say for WWE, you know, Trish, because she was the first time I won the championship, and she was there with me and helped guide me my first real like 2 years there, year and a half, like that whole, to really get me ready. She took her time with me. She was patient with me, because I knew how to wrestle. I knew how to work. I knew how to do all the things within the ring, but she taught me a lot of the stuff behind the scenes and backstage, and plus the camera angles, because there's a lot more cameras there than there were at OVW at the time where I was training, and different things like that, to just kind of like really perfect my television aspect of it. So I think Trish possibly for WWE, if that ever happens. Or Amy, honestly, Lita. Right. Those would be the two, because not only for Lita's retirement match and that whole thing of like going out, but I know I've said it a lot in interviews, but we never really talked about it on TV. But Amy was so kind in a time where it was just little Alexis Lurie working independents in North Carolina and Jersey and Philly or anywhere that I could get booked. And anytime I was in North Carolina, Amy would come to a lot of the shows, like in the Raleigh area, the local shows, even when I was booked or even when I wasn't booked, because she just always has loved to give back to the business in that sense. But she would pull me aside and give me advice every time, like every time. When she didn't have to watch the matches. She was just on WWE TV at the time. She just started doing the Hardy Boys stuff and all that stuff. So, but that is kind of where I met Amy, and that friendship kind of bond started as more of a mentor, and all through. And I always say, like, I'm sure I would have, but I know that she pulled for me in a lot of instances that she didn't necessarily have to. And she always kept an eye out for me, you know, all the way through. And so obviously she would be really, you know, as a cool full circle thing, because she knew me when I was just little Alexis Lurie, just trying to make it, and has seen the whole thing all the way through, all the way up to eliminate me at the Rumble, ironically. So as far as Impact goes, I would say Lisa Marie, right. Because I had such, you know, when I first came to Impact, she was, or Madison as well, because that was my first big feud there. But you know, that cage match with Tara, that would be her Impact persona. Right. That cage match with Tara still stands up there as one of my greatest matches of all time, in my opinion, for so many reasons. From it being the main event, and you know, at that time women weren't really the main event very many times, but from it being the main event to her separating her dislocating her elbow about halfway through the match, but yet she still kept going because she's a damn warrior. I can't believe it. And to the improvisation, because she was injured, to those kind of things, but also just for the amount, like that whole feud with her and Madison was the whole first like year of that was the launch, and that is what created that's where hardcore country was spawned out of, and that's where she truly got over, was in that first initial launch, you know. And they could have brought me in and put the championship on me straight away, and as Mickie James coming from WWE, and we had a chance to recreate Mickie James and to create hardcore country together, and that's what we did. And we made her the underdog, because that's where I've always been better fighting from underneath, and it really worked out well for us. And so I'll always be grateful for that part right there.
Amazing. And so before we conclude our interview, so we compile a lot of lists on our site, and you are always mentioned as one of the greatest female performers of all time. I mean, that your name often comes up, but there is one exception. You are also mentioned in the most outrageous moment of all time, which is when James Storm pushed you in front of a train. Do you have any memories of that?
Oh God, that train moment. That was something. That was interesting. That was interesting. You know, it was one of those things that was there was a new person that had come over from WWE. They were working on creative. They were kind of the head of it. And I feel, you know, I had just, you know, I'd had Donovan at that point. Did I have Donovan at that point? I feel like I was kind of, because of this new person that came in, I feel like I was leaving Impact anyway. Like I was there more on a per show kind of deal. Right. And they wanted a way, like I don't know why this was the thing. And I watch it back and I'm like, I remember them pitching it to me and I'm like, wait, you want him to push me in front of a train, but then I'm going to come back from this? Like so I didn't die in the train tracks? Like, are we going to explain this? Like, there was no real explanation as to one. We kind of heard the train. You didn't see the train. You just see me fall into like the pit of the train tracks, because It was shot at Cummins Station. Ironically enough, it was shot at Cummins Station, which was the old TNA headquarters in downtown Nashville. And behind it is a legit, because the trains used to come through there. So there's like a legit where an old train is kind of, old trolleys kind of parked. And then the dip where they would do the load-ins there at that Cummins Station and then kind of pull the trains off. So there was like an old working thing, and just kind of, yeah, it was kind of wild. I have no explanation for it. It was one of those things I was just like, okay, fine. All right. I don't know how this is going to go over. And I kind of explained, I said, I just don't feel like, I feel like people are going to be like, what the hell? You just killed Mickie. Like the South Park Kenny, but Mickie. Yeah. But, and that's kind of what it did. It was just like, wait, she just died? Did she just die on television? But I did not die. Or did I? Because I could be a ghost.
And that has happened on Impact before, because Rosemary is a demon and stuff. So.
Yeah. Who? Rosemary? I feel like she is kind of dead already, though, because she's like a zombie apocalypse kind of scary vampire character. I'm not really sure it's zombie pyre. She's not a vampire. She's a zombie. But I just, yeah. So, I do hope she never eats my brains, though.
Awesome. Before we go, one last question. You had this awesome redemption story. I mean, you left WWE, you came back to WWE for this special moment. I have interviewed Gail Kim so many times, and it often feels like her story is incomplete in that sense, and she had a similar kind of bitter experience. Do you think there is a second chapter yet to be written for her?
In Gail Kim with WWE?
Yeah.
I feel like if she wants it, sure, there is. I feel like Gail is very happy where she's at right now.
Right.
You know, she's very content. Like, I don't know that that's one of those things of, I'm sure that it's feasible if she wanted it, but does she want it? And not everybody, you know what I mean? And does she need it? She doesn't need it. She's doing so many great things with Impact right now. Not only was she pretty much her and Kong were the catalyst of, like, I was there at Impact prior to the Knockouts division. Right. So, you know, but that story alone, her and Kong really put the Knockouts division on the map in the sense as a viable, they were doing women's wrestling right from day one, you know, even in the matches that we had prior, but they've always done that. And for her to now be leading up the Knockouts division and kind of be heading that charge up. And so she's like cherry picking what women and the matches and how they're going on television. So everything that you see the women do on television has her thumbprint on there. Right. So you think about that, like that's an incredible, and I think she's very happy with that because now she doesn't have to worry about like the stress of getting ready for the match and your own booking and all of these other things. She is really taking on this role of making sure that these talents shine, because she's very happy how her career ended and that she was able to have her bow at the end of her moment and to had to go out in a classy and bow out gracefully sort of way and to be able to transition into this leadership role that is very suited for a Gail Kim. Like she's so good at that kind of stuff and she's so smart and she thinks about like a lot of the little things, and you can see that the Knockouts division is thriving and it keeps excelling because of it. So if she wanted that, I'm sure she could have it, but I don't know that she needs it or wants it, because I think that she's going to continue to make her mark on the industry behind the scenes and probably even on camera in different aspects for as long as she wants to. So
amazing. Thank you so much for your time. It was an honor speaking to you after such a historic achievement. And I look forward to your match against Tasha Steeles and against Chelsea Green. So thank you so much for your time, and we'll keep a close eye on your career and we'll keep catching up.
I can't wait. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.